Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the transit Sun conjunct one's natal Sun. Now, the thing about this is, when you have a transit like this, keep in mind the Sun is about our focus, attention, and the concentration of energy. So there could be a strong focus, attention, and concentration of energy. Uh, Perhaps on one's identity. Keep in mind when you have the transit Sun conjunct one's natal Sun, during that time it's going to be on one day of this transit anyway. It's going to be on the person's birthday. So it's interesting how that works out. A lot of people on their birthday, they may wait till the last minute to get their identification renewed, and very interesting how that pans out. Now we're looking at this as well. I mean, it could also be the focus on one's physical body. Yes, the ascendant is what dominates the appearance in the physical body, but the Sun can play a role as well. Say if you have this transit in the zodiac sign Cancer, it might be some focus on some issues with the stomach, or if there's ulcers or something with the chest area. And also too, it's about the ego too. It's really shining, could be shining the light on ego needs. If this is in Gemini, this transit, it could be on mental stimulation, or wanting maybe to dominate people on an intellectual level. Remember, the Sun can be about our drive and our will, for our dominance to some degree, dominance as well. Uh, Also, too, this is also a lot of attention being put on the drive, and what is motivating you at this point in time. I mean, say if you have this in Scorpio, the sign of regeneration and rebirth. I mean, Scorpio energy is very resilient. It could be something if you suffered some kind of defeat. Say if you have this in the seventh house of competition and you suffered some kind of defeat, it might be what may drive you is that ability to be resilient and come back and perhaps win the next time around against somebody that you might have lost to in some form of competition. Now, it's also a very strong focus on this time, and a concentration of energy on one's vitality. This could actually be a very good period for somebody that for people, for energy, which could be very abundant at this time. You might feel like you have a lot of more life in you, a lot more energy and vitality, even this, perhaps even creative energy at this time. Say if this is in Leo, you might feel like there's this very strong, near inexorable type of energy at this time. And just be careful, like in Leo, for example, about overexertion or issues with the heart, or doing, or really not really seeing maybe your limitations. I mean, if you have, like, say, Saturn retrograde in your chart, that could be an indicator that could reaffirm or reinforce that you might not always be cognizant of your limitations, or if there's other things in that chart that might reinforce this. Just make sure that you don't overexert yourself at this time with this kind of energy, because again, the energy could be very, very tremendous, to say the absolute least, at this time. Now, the thing about this is, if you haven't been in touch with your biological father, this could be a time where he may come into contact with you, and it might mean, say if this is in Libra, for example, it might be a Libra Sun, Moon, or Ascendant person, or simply one that embodies those characteristics. Now, the Sun is also associated with the left or right eye, depending on gender. So in some cases, this may manifest in some issues with one of the eyes at this time. Now, say if this is in this is in Pisces, it might be some kind of blurred vision, or Gemini double vision. Perhaps the upper, the Sun is also associated with the upper back, the spine, and the heart. Now, sometimes this might shine the light, so to speak, on some issue with the upper back or the spine or the heart at this time. And it's also about what motivates you is about having heart, being very driven at this time, and putting things, doing things with very wholehearted effort, basically, as well. So, anyway, well, another thing, excuse me, another thing too, is that again, this could be a time where you might feel very revitalized and full of life at this time. This could be a very auspicious period for getting things done because the energy level again could be very exorbitant at this time, to say the least. There might be a very strong want to express yourself, and say if you have this in Scorpio, it could be through uh, something with the occult, supernatural, astrology, locksmithing, doing things. It could be transformation at this time. Also, too, and it might even be through, I mean, adding creativity to this as well. And this is a very strong period for having more of a will to live. If you're a person, say that because the sun can be our will, and it's also, and you're talking about the contact with your own natal sun, that's about our life. So there might be a more stronger desire and will to live than usual. If you were somebody that was very despondent and you were depressed and looking at all the negative aspects in your life, and this could be a time where you might feel like a little bit more positive about things that are going on with you, and there's more of a desire to get out of that negativity and to actually be alive again. This could be a very strong, very positive transit, I would think. And say, again, going back to Scorpio, it's about really being, really being very conscious of an indomitable spirit, perhaps, that you do have, and your will. Say another thing too, a sun person may connect with you. Again, going back to, it could be the biological father, it could be some dominant male, maybe it's a child, it could be, I mean, somebody that might have played a role in some motivation for you at some point in time during your life. Um, let's say if this transit is in Leo, it could be a Leo sun, moon, or ascendant person, or simply one that embodies Leo characteristics. And this could be a time too where you might become more aware, more cognizant, and conscious. Conscious energy is the sun of what you want, and the sun in your chart is connected with your basic ones. And it might be, and it's really getting more in touch with your true self in contrast to your projected self, which of course is the ascendant. Now, that applies in most cases because in most cases one is going to have a different ascendant in contrast to their sun sign. Now, if you have the same sun sign as your ascendant, then your sun, your true self and outer self are basically one and the same. The facade, the mask you project, the ascendant and the true self are really are going to be one and the same. So it really doesn't really apply in that in as far as that situation goes. But in most cases it would, because in most cases you're going to have a different ascendant than sun sign. But anyway, this could also be a very very ideal time. I mean, if you're going to embark on new aspirations at this time, it could be a very auspicious period for this, because I mean, this is again a time where you might feel very rejuvenated, very revitalized to start something. Hold on a moment, people. And aspiring to get things that you strongly want. It could also be a time too, looking at this, again, the sun can be about shining that light. And this could shine, when you have this transit, it could shine the light on something that is associated with the sign and the house that your sun resides in. Now, I have when I experience this transit, Okay, my natal sun in Cancer is conjunct my third house cusp. From the second, this could manifest for me, for example, in shining the light on nurturing and my communications, or having very dedicated, devoted communications. And excuse me, also too, say if this is in transit takes place in Virgo in the eighth house, it could be about shining the light, so to speak, on analytical psychology or astrology. And the sun is about what we put our attention on, but it could also be about the spotlight, maybe putting us in the spotlight. So these could also be energy can manifest in some as far as based on the position, the sign and the house the sun is in when you have this transit area where you're going to maybe be put yourself in the spotlight, maybe to some degree, and you're willing to put yourself out there, which would be maybe surprising if you have, say, a chart that indicates you're more introverted and introspective, such as having a preponderance of planets on the bottom half of your chart, and or most of your major astrological energy in feminine signs, and which is like me anyway. I have 8 planets below on the bottom half of my chart, and I have like 7 of 12 major astrological influences in feminine signs. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.